Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we talk about 10 movies that I highly recommend. And with that, let's get to the list.
He's the doctor! He's real!
Marshmallow is a 2025 sci-fi horror movie directed by Daniel Del Purgatorio. It stars Georgina Wingham, Hugh Lawrence, and Corbin Burnson. When a once fabled campfire tale becomes real, a group of campers uncover a profound secret that shocks them to their core.
If you stay up too late, or if you leave your cabin past curfew, you just might see the doctor.
I've heard a few people mention this movie over the last couple months and been meaning to check it out, but it's only available on VOD, and I just don't rent those that often because I try not to recommend movies to you guys that you have to spend extra money that you're not already spending on your streaming services. Because the whole idea with this channel is to try to find things for you to watch and get the most value out of your streaming services that you have. But then earlier today, I saw that it was down to only $4.99 to rent, and I was like, all right, you know what? Screw it, I'm gonna check it out. And I'm so glad I did. I had a great time with this movie. It is really, really fun. But you gotta be patient because for probably the first half of it, it's pretty slow. And it mostly just feels like a summer camp kind of movie where you have these different preteens and they're fighting and the different things that you would expect from a movie like that. But trust me when I say that's part of the setup. That is part of what makes this movie, to me anyway, work. Because the second half, it really ramps up, gets weird, caught me off guard, but I didn't even see a trailer for this going in, so I knew nothing really about it other than that it had to do with summer camp. But it really leans into it and just has a lot of fun with it. Besides that, I really liked all the characters in this. They're all unique and different in their own way, but they felt like real people, and they're entertaining because of that, especially the kids. I really found myself relating to them because I think they did a good job with this of showing what it's like to be a kid and not necessarily one of the cool kids and feeling like an outsider. And so for a good chunk of this movie, it kind of focuses on that element. And later on, that kind of makes sense. And there's a lot of things that in the first half of this movie that don't exactly click, and up until really close to the end, and those things start to make sense. And you kind of look back on the first half of the movie, and at least in my case, I appreciated it even more. So I just think it's a perfect summertime, nostalgic type of watch, but that also still has plenty of horror and sci-fi elements to keep you engaged. So at least in my opinion, Marshmallow is absolutely worth renting for a few bucks. Sunshine is a 2007 sci-fi psychological thriller directed by Danny Boyle and written by Alex Garland. It stars Cillian Murphy, Chris Evans, Michelle Yeoh, and Rose Byrne. A team of international astronauts are sent on a dangerous mission to reignite the dying sun with a nuclear fission bomb in 2057. It always blows me away that more people have not seen this movie. I don't get why it's not considered a classic, but maybe it's for the same reasons that Danny Boyle and Alex Garland's latest movie, 28 Years Later, is so polarizing, and not everybody loved that, even though I personally think it's great and didn't have very many issues with it at all. I understand that a lot of people just weren't feeling it, and that's cool. Like, everybody's got different taste, but I love the weirdness about this. I love the frenetic pacing and the way it's edited, especially towards the end. But at least the art design and stylistically, especially with the editing, I found a lot of similarities between this and 28 Years Later. But this movie goes for it. It is brutal at times, very heart-pounding and exciting and intense. The cast in this is just incredible. They've all become huge megastars nowadays, and to see them much younger before they were at least all quite on the same level that they are today was also a lot of fun. Especially Cillian Murphy. He is so good in this movie. But the other thing I love about this movie that I don't hear talked about very often is how much of a shift it takes and how there are definitely elements of a slasher in this, and it's much more horror than I think it's given credit for. So I just think this is one of the most slept on sci-fi horror thrillers out there, and when I saw that it was available streaming on Hulu now or Disney Plus, I had to bring it up this week.
What's happening to me?
I just wanted you to be perfect.
Matriarch is a 2022 folk horror movie, written and directed by Ben Steiner. It stars Jemima Rooper, Kate Dickie, and Sarah Paul. Afflicted by a mysterious disease after surviving a self-harming event, a woman returns to her childhood home to confront her personal demons, but instead uncovers horrifying secrets.
Mom? Oh, I've missed that word.
I love the mood of this, the style of it. I'm a big fan of witchy folk kind of horror, and especially the aesthetic of it. There's something I just find so cold and eerie and just creepy about it. And this is a fun one. It takes you on an interesting ride where you are left kind of questioning for quite a while what's going on. You know something isn't right in this small village, but you don't know exactly what. And then little by little, it unveils itself and gets more and more weird and uncomfortable. But I was a big fan of Kate Dickie. She was kind of one of the undersung stars in the movie The Witch. She is so good in that, but she is just as good in this. And if anything, she gets more of a chance to shine in this. But in a lot of ways, she is what makes this movie worth seeing. So I think if you're a fan of moody folk horror movies, Matriarch is absolutely worth checking out. Timecop is a 1994 sci-fi action thriller. Directed by Peter Hyams, it stars Jean-Claude Van Damme, Mia Sara, and Ron Silver. An officer for a security agency that regulates time travel must fend for his life against a shady politician who's intent on changing the past to control the future.
How you doing, partner?
Ex-partner.
Let me go, Max. Like, I'm not hurting anybody.
Good to take you back.
Growing up, this was one of my favorite movies ever. I just love it. I love action movies, especially back then. That was my first love, and especially ones that have a weird sci-fi twist to them. I was all in. But this one also leans into that thriller element too, because the different concepts and things that they're dealing with keep you on the edge of your seat. But this one and a couple other ones in this video are why I wanted to kind of shift away a little bit from horror this week to just talk about some sci-fi action thriller stuff that most horror fans are still a fan of, but are not strictly horror. But Jean-Claude Van Damme is such a badass in this. He's so charismatic and likable. The story and everything in this, it's one of the best of all of Jean-Claude Van Damme's movies out there. The only other ones I would really put on the same list is probably Hard Target, which I love, and then maybe Cyborg. But this is definitely one of his very best. He's just at the peak of his abilities in this because he's still a badass and physically can do all these crazy things, but he's also got a little more acting chops and can pull off some scenes that he maybe couldn't have a few years prior to this. But I just think this movie is a blast, a lot of sci-fi fun. It's violent, has a lot of great action and fight scenes in it, and I just love the time travel and the way they deal with it here, the different twists and turns that it takes you on. So if it's been a while since you've seen Timecop, or if you've never seen it and it sounds like something you'd be into, definitely give it a look.
Predator 2.
Predator 2 is a 1990 sci-fi action horror movie. Directed by Stephen Hopkins, it stars Danny Glover, Bill Paxton, and Gary Busey. The Predator returns to Earth, this time to stake a claim on the war-torn streets of a dystopian Los Angeles.
You are one ugly mother. Motherfucker.
Over the years, whenever you hear people mention Predator movies, this one, for whatever reason, just doesn't get talked about. But I think it's really good. I love how dirty and seedy and grimy and just gritty it is, and how different it feels from the first Predator. Because I love the first Predator, don't get me wrong. I mean, to me, it's a perfect action sci-fi horror movie. But I still think there's so much here. For one, the cast is brilliant in this. I love Bill Paxton, and Gary Busey is fun in it, but Danny Glover really steals the show. You don't necessarily always think of him as being such a badass action star, but he is great in this. I really love how it leans into that street smart cop element, and that's how he's able to go against the Predator. Because he doesn't have the big brawn like Arnold Schwarzenegger did. He's got to use his other skills and things like that to go against it. And it's really fun how it shows that. On top of that, the urban environment and seeing the Predator with all these cool 1990s, late 80s special effects and stuff that they use, the coloring, there's a gritty and yet colorful, flashy quality to this that I love as well. I also really like how this pushes forward the lore and stuff, and you get a little bit more idea of what the Predator is and its motives and things like that. Not a ton, but there's enough that it gives you something new to chew on. Either way, I think Predator 2 is a badass sci-fi action horror movie that deserves a lot more credit than it gets.
We can't let this get back to Earth.
Last Days on Mars is a 2013 sci-fi horror movie. Directed by Ruari Robinson, it stars Liev Schreiber, Elias Koteas, and Ramala Garai. A group of astronaut explorers succumb one by one to a mysterious, terrifying force while collecting specimens on Mars.
You have to see this.
I think this movie is so badass and gets a lot darker and creepy and weird as it goes, more than it seems like it's going to. Because by the end, it's a full-blown horror movie, but for a good chunk of it, it feels much more in the sci-fi lane. It's super futuristic, and I love the technology and the way they show Mars. All that is really cool looking, well done. This wasn't like a super tiny budget movie or anything. Like, this was a legit movie that, at the time anyway, was using the best special effects available. Now, granted, some of the CGI in this does feel a little dated at this point, but I don't think it holds it back that much. It doesn't take you out of the movie like sometimes you'll see. But Liev Schreiber especially is just fantastic in this, really does a great job at really carrying the movie in a lot of ways. But I love the different twists and turns that it takes and how it keeps you guessing throughout. But it just gets so heart-pounding and intense by the end, and I just love it. But if you're looking for a sci-fi horror movie to check out tonight, The Last Days on Mars is a fantastic pick.
I just want to come home.
Spaceman is a 2024 sci-fi thriller directed by Johan Renck. It stars Adam Sandler, Carey Mulligan, and Isabella Rossellini. It follows an astronaut sent on a mission to the edge of the solar system who encounters a creature that helps him resolve his earthly problems.
I did not intend to frighten you, skinny human. Do not be afraid.
I'm losing my mind.
This is much more of a slow burn drama than it necessarily is a sci-fi thriller. But it does have those things in it too. So I'm not saying it's boring or slow or anything like that, but it deals with a lot of complex emotions. There's a lot of layers to it. And it's another movie that just shows how talented of an actor Adam Sandler can be. Because the way he expresses emotions in this, the different levels he goes. On top of that, he looks so emaciated. I mean, looks like he's about to die. And the way he expresses that and shows all that, I mean, it's really, really, really good stuff. But besides his performance, the other thing that really made me love this movie was the look of it, the different cool artistic things, the different visuals, the different environments and things that it takes you on. Because even though it is just this astronaut stuck in a space shuttle, there's a lot of things that this movie does and a lot of places it takes you. In some ways, it reminds me of Contact in that way, where the way the alien is represented and the different ideas that are presented. But it does dip into horror when it comes to the existential type of questions and life and death elements, and as it digs deep into those different thoughts and emotions and concepts is where this movie gets powerful, but also gets a bit on the disturbing side. But I think if you enjoy emotional, moody, atmospheric movies that deal with some really bigger ideas than ourselves kind of stuff, I think this one will really be up your alley.
No more secrets.
Secrets of my life.
The Prestige is a 2006 sci-fi psychological thriller directed by Christopher Nolan. It stars Christian Bale, Hugh Jackman, and Scarlett Johansson. Bitter rival stage magicians in Victorian London feud over a perfect teleportation illusion.
A real magician tries to invent something new. It's something that other magicians will scratch their heads over.
I suppose you have such a trick.
Actually, I do. It's the one they're gonna remember me for.
This is one of my favorite movies of all time. And it might be my favorite Christopher Nolan. Like, I really, really love this movie. And when it came out, it had buzz. People talked about it for quite a while. But as time has gone by, I feel like it's not remembered as much as it should be. It doesn't get the recognition that it should be, because not only does it have an incredible cast who do a phenomenal job, it has everything that people love about Christopher Nolan. Just the meticulous design, the way it's paced, the different intricacies of the story and the characters and the way it develops, the props, the set design, the special effects. All those things are just impeccable in this. But I love how as the movie goes, it gets more and more weird, more and more dark and creepy. And even though it feels like a drama in a lot of ways, there's a lot of, back and forth and dialogue and things like that. By the end, it definitely gets a lot darker and a lot more twisted than I ever expected going in. So I think The Prestige is an absolute treasure that if you have yet to see, or if it's been a while, definitely add this one to your list.
We just came here for some peace.
Unwelcome is a 2023 folk horror movie, co-written and directed by John Wright. It stars Hannah John Kamen, Douglas Booth, and Cole Meany. A married couple escape their urban nightmare to the tranquility of rural Ireland, only to discover malevolent and murderous goblins living in the woods.
Every evening before sunset, she'd leave a blood offering here.
Sorry, did you say blood? For who?
For the red caps.
So like I talked about earlier, folk horror is my jam. I just love it. And especially when it's something to do with little guys and interesting legends and lore, stuff that I don't quite know a lot about. And in this case, you're dealing with the red caps, I believe is what they're called. And it's just a fun story. If you go and look into them and just go down that rabbit hole, it's very interesting in and of itself. But this movie gets wild, man, and it is a lot more fun, a lot more over the top, gory, I mean, you name it, than what I expected. And it's also not a movie that's too mean. It knows what it is, it leans into that, and lets you have fun with it without being a comedy. Like, this movie is not comedic. It has a few laughs here and there, but for the most part, it is taking itself serious, but it's just the tone and the design and the way that it's put together, that it's savage and brutal, but yet there's an entertaining quality, a fun quality that is a perfect popcorn type of watch. But when I say this movie goes for it, especially in the final act, I mean buckets of blood going for it. But if that sounds like something that you would have fun with, then Unwelcome is an absolute must-see.
Out with the lights. The running man.
The Running Man is a 1987 dystopian action thriller directed by Paul Michael Glazer. It's based on the 1982 Stephen King novel of the same name and stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, Richard Dawson, and Jesse Ventura. A man joins a game show where the contestants are allowed to go anywhere in the world, but are pursued by hunters hired to kill them.
It's a game between life and death.
I adore this movie. It's right up there with Timecop. It's one of those early movies for me that really got me to fall in love with thriller, sci-fi, and then eventually horror. Because this is not a horror movie per se, but there are a lot of brutal, gory, over-the-top, intense things, stuff that is very horrific at the least. I'm not saying it's full-blown horror, but man, this movie gets dark and twisted. But just the vibrant color, the style, the music, the different hunters that are trying to kill Arnold's character are just so fun. Each one of them kind of has that WWE wrestler vibe to them because they all have their different theme music and costumes and way that they kill their victims. It's a lot of fun. On top of that, the dystopian sci-fi elements, the way it looks, I love it. It's got that great late 80s, early 90s kind of palette and style to it that is just so much fun to me. Another reason I wanted to mention this is I just saw the trailer the other day for the new Running Man that comes out later this year. And I think it looks like a blast. It looks really, really fun. And from what I've heard, it's supposed to stick even closer to the source material that Stephen King wrote. But hopefully that one will be entertaining and a lot of fun as well. But this original is just a classic to me. It is so entertaining, so enjoyable, and I think it's a perfect pick for this Saturday night. So do yourself a favor this weekend, pick one of the movies off of this list, grab your popcorn and your candy, and enjoy! And like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun and sci-fi. And I'll see you guys next time.